The morning sunlight fell gently across the small, cozy living room, illuminating the dust motes that floated lazily in the air. Amara sat by the window, holding a small, broken ring in her hands. Its delicate band, once unbroken and flawless, now bore a tiny fracture that seemed to mirror the ache in her heart. She had received the ring years ago from her mother, a gift meant to symbolize love, trust, and family bonds. Now, its brokenness felt like a reflection of all the moments that had strained their relationship. Amara turned the ring over in her fingers, examining the tiny fissure. Memories came rushing back. Her mother's warm smile, the laughter shared in the kitchen, the comforting stories told at bedtime. But there were also moments of misunderstanding, of distance, of unspoken words that lingered between them. The ring had witnessed all of it, silent and steadfast, and now its fracture seemed to demand attention, a reconciliation that Amara had long avoided. She set the ring gently on the windowsill and gazed outside. The garden was alive with the early signs of spring, flowers blooming, birds chirping, and sunlight glinting off dew-laden leaves. Life continued around her, resilient and beautiful, despite imperfections and fleeting hardships. The broken ring, she realized, was not just an object. It was a symbol, a reminder that love could endure, even when strained or damaged. Amara decided she would try to mend what had been broken, both in the ring and in her heart. She began by sorting through old letters and photographs, recalling moments that had strengthened their bond. Each memory was a stitch in a tapestry that had frayed but never fully torn. She felt a stirring of hope, a quiet determination to restore what she could. That afternoon, she took the ring to a small jeweler in town, an elderly man with skilled hands and a gentle demeanor. He examined the delicate band carefully, nodding with understanding. "This ring has been loved," he said softly. "Its fracture is not the end, it is just a part of its story. With care, it can be whole again." Amara watched as the jeweler worked meticulously, heating and reshaping the band, smoothing the fracture until the ring gleamed once more. The process was slow, requiring patience and precision, but with each careful movement, Amara felt a parallel within herself. Mending what had been broken required the same care, attention, and love. When the jeweler finally handed the ring back to her, she held it close, feeling a weight lifted. It was still the same ring, yet renewed, a symbol of resilience, of attention to detail, and of the possibility of repair. Amara knew that restoring the ring was only the beginning. The true work lay ahead, in reaching out to her mother, in bridging the gaps that time and silence had created. As evening approached, Amara picked up the phone, her fingers trembling slightly. She dialed her mother's number, heart pounding, unsure of the words that would come next. When the call connected, her mother's familiar voice, warm and soft, greeted her. Amara took a deep breath and began to speak, carefully, honestly, and from the heart. The conversation was tentative at first, but slowly, layers of hesitation fell away. By the end, there was laughter, shared memories, and a rekindling of the connection that had always been there, waiting beneath the surface. For the first time in many years, Amara felt the fullness of love and understanding, fragile yet enduring, like the restored ring in her hand. It was a reminder that even when bonds are strained, care, attention, and courage can mend what was broken. And as night fell, she placed the ring on her finger, feeling a quiet sense of peace, hope, and renewal. The following morning, Amara awoke with the restored ring warm on her finger, a quiet reminder of the fragile yet enduring bond she shared with her mother. The conversation from last night replayed in her mind, the laughter, the hesitations, the tender admissions that had begun to bridge years of distance. She realized that mending a relationship, like mending the ring, required patience, care, and the courage to face the moments that had once caused hurt. Determined to deepen this renewed connection, Amara decided to visit her mother in person. She packed a small bag, including the ring carefully wrapped in soft cloth, and set out for the familiar home of her childhood. As she walked through the streets, memories of her youth surfaced, running through the garden, sitting at the kitchen table with her mother, the comforting scent of baked bread and fresh flowers. Each memory reminded her that love, even when fractured, left traces that never fully disappear. When Amara arrived, her mother opened the door, her eyes widening with surprise and warmth. The moment was quiet at first, both women unsure where to begin, yet the ring on Amara's hand spoke volumes. It was a symbol of intent, of restoration, and of the desire to reconnect. They embraced slowly, carefully, as if acknowledging both the past hurt and the present possibility. Sitting together in the living room, they began to speak honestly. Amara shared the impact of their past misunderstandings, the time she had felt distant and unheard, and her fear that the bond they shared might never fully heal. Her mother listened with gentle attentiveness, admitting her own moments of stubbornness, miscommunication, and unspoken regrets. Words flowed between them like a healing stream, washing away years of accumulated silence. At one point, Amara reached for the ring and placed it in her mother's hands. "I had it repaired," she said softly, "and I realized that some things can be mended if we are willing to care enough." Her mother turned it over, examining the flawless restoration, and a small tear formed in her eye. "It's beautiful," she whispered. "And so is this moment." They spent the afternoon revisiting old photographs and sharing stories long forgotten. Laughter emerged naturally, bridging gaps that had once felt insurmountable. The conversation was not perfect, and there were pauses filled with emotion, but each silence held understanding and presence. Through this simple act of sitting together, speaking openly, and listening fully, they began to weave the threads of their relationship back into a tapestry stronger than before. Later, they walked together in the garden, the sunlight falling softly across the blooming flowers, the air fragrant with spring. Amara noticed the way her mother's hands moved as she touched the petals, gentle and careful, and realized that both the ring and their bond had been restored through attention, care, and deliberate presence. She smiled, feeling a warmth she had thought lost, knowing that repair was possible when intention met love. As evening approached, they sat on the porch, the restored ring glinting in the fading light. They spoke of dreams, of future gatherings, and of simple joys that had been overshadowed by distance. Amara understood that healing is an ongoing process, requiring patience and effort, yet it is also a journey filled with moments of beauty, laughter, and connection. Before leaving, Amara embraced her mother once more, feeling the weight of years of unspoken love now released. She returned home with a sense of peace and fulfillment, the ring on her finger gleaming as a constant reminder of resilience, care, and the enduring strength of family bonds. That night, as Amara lay in bed, she reflected on the journey. The broken ring had been more than an object. It had been a catalyst, a teacher guiding her to courage, empathy, and reconciliation. She realized that relationships, like cherished objects, may fracture over time, but with effort, patience, and love, they can be restored, sometimes even stronger than before. The restored ring glimmered in the soft light of her bedside lamp, and Amara closed her eyes, feeling a quiet certainty that she and her mother had begun a new chapter together. The bond, once fragile and broken, now carried the beauty of repair, the depth of understanding, and the promise of enduring love.